The Christmas holidays had just ended, and for 60-year-old Esmeralda Evans, it was time to return to her job as a supervisor at Superior Craft and More. Esmeralda was blind, but this was never seen as a handicap. She lost her sight early in childhood due to a freak accident at her home in the small community of Flower Hill in the western parish of St. James. But she was always active and throughout her life entrenched herself in the blind community. On the morning of January 3, 2011, she looked forward to the day's activities at work and seeing her colleagues for the first time since the Christmas break. In this new year, her routine remained the same. Her son, Dale Miller, escorted her to work, located on the compound of the Jamaica Society for the Blind in Kingston, Jamaica's capital. The day at work went by quickly. In the afternoon, like clockwork, Dale left his job as a telephone operator with the Ministry of Local Government and went to meet his mother to escort her home.
Upon leaving her, I would then go to my work. And on that fateful day, Monday the 3rd of January 2011, of course I did the same as usual. And I went and picked her up at 5:30 that fateful Monday evening. I greeted everyone and then I said to her, "Mommy, I can't say I'm not early this time." And she said, "Yes man, you're early." And I said to her, "Then you ready?" And she said, "Yes." And I said to her, "Let's go then." And of course we left the society. We walked along, you know, just chatting along casually, talking about all sorts of things. We then got out the road, of course walking up. We crossed the road and then we're at the bus stop. We continued our conversation until my mom and I began to discuss some things privately. We continued our conversation when tragedy struck. This car just mounted the sidewalk, and before we could realize that we were going to be hit, it happened. And based on the angle that the car hit the bus stop from, the gentleman by the name of Warren would have hit him first, and then it would have hit Charlotte, that's my mom, other friend, and then myself, and of course my mom. Now, what happened? I was just hit off the sidewalk into the middle of the road. When I got up, of course in a lot of pain, I saw persons scattered, you know, all over. And there were persons, of course, you know, a big crowd that gathered, and persons were helping to get persons in vehicle to get them to hospital. And of course I was very concerned, and I heard a bystander saying that there were persons underneath the car. Of course I became even more jittery because my mom and I were standing at the bus stop and I did not see her. So of course I became very anxious, and so I could not find my mom until eventually I went up to the car. The car was jammed into the bus stop, and I stooped down. When I stooped down, I saw my mom pinned underneath the car. Imagine, you know, right in the bus stop. The car is in the bus stop, you know, and my mom is pinned right underneath the car. And I pushed up my head underneath the car and I said, "Mommy," no sound. I did that about 3 times, no sound.
And nothing.
I held on to my mom's arm and I shook it, no response. And I got up so frightened down, and I said, "Lord of mercy, them killed my mother." And persons out there were telling me to calm down, and I said to them, "How can I be calm down when my mom is dead underneath a car?" And of course I became very hysterical, they would say, and eventually I was taken away to you.
News of the tragedy flooded the airwaves. There were reports that hours later the bodies of Esmeralda and her friend Joanna Scarlett remained pinned onto the vehicle. Dale, along with other accident victims, was rushed to the hospital. Dale was treated for cuts and bruises and quickly released. A week later, on January 10, the police reported that Anne-Marie Williams, a bank supervisor, was charged with 2 counts of manslaughter and 1 count of dangerous driving. Williams, who was also injured, was admitted to hospital for a few days. As a result, she missed her first court hearing. She was granted bail amounting to 750,000 Jamaican dollars, the equivalent of over 8,000 US dollars. To date, the case is still pending.
It has been traumatic. I mean, since the 3rd of January, I can't say I've slept a complete night. In the days, sometimes I might not be even thinking about the accident. We know that we all have to die, but I mean, I never had the slightest dream that I would have lost my mom
in this manner,
in such a tragic manner. And then to think that it has to be, out of carelessness.
Today, Esmeralda Evans is gone. Among the many tributes paid to her, words from Dale perhaps best sum up the essence of her life.
That woman was such a brilliant lady. She, I don't know, every topic I can think of, she can discuss, and not just brush over, she could argue on every topic. And I don't know, she was just extraordinary. I've oftentimes told her that the only thing that you cannot do in a mommy is see. She was just extraordinary. She was just special. God just made her special.